Hello, everyone. Hope you are doing well. It is time to do the first tech talk of 2025, and we're going to be changing things up a little bit, but not too much. Basically, I thought while doing the tech talk this year, we'll be still talking about War Thunder, going through the general stuff of it, but also building a kingdom in Manor because I need something that's like super like relaxing in terms of like doing it, and playing War Thunder isn't always that. So it's a little bit odd in terms of it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create just a completely kind of just chill time in Manor, and then we'll just literally just keep building stuff and while doing the tech talks. So that's kind of the idea. Maybe if we kind of fully do the land and everything, maybe we'll move on to something else. But yeah, that's. I know it sounds a bit weird, but that is straight up, I think, like quite a fun thing to do. So we'll turn off like all of the bandits and all the stuff like that, and then also we'll just make things just easier on our guys as we go through. The only thing I think we'll do is we'll add weather events because why not? And also we'll do underground water on this as well. So yeah, simple as really, and then we'll go through the questions. So if you don't know what a tech talk is, it's kind of like a weekly podcast that we do. It usually comes out on Sundays. This one won't come out on Sunday; it'll come out on Tuesday. But the next one will come out on Sunday. So this Sunday, basically, you put comments in the description, and then we go over them on the tech talk time. And that's pretty much it. The major reason why we've done this in the past and we'll do this in the future is to give people kind of a voice to talk about stuff and discuss things and then kind of go from there. Now, the place where we're getting the questions or the comments from today is a community post, which I did yesterday, and then also the previous tech talk, which came out on Christmas. So it might be a little bit old in terms of the content which is there. So yeah, we'll see what kind of goes on with it because usually this is more of like a weekly basis thing, right? But if we're doing it like all the time, or sorry, if we're not doing it all the time, then it doesn't really work as well for that. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's go through the posts and yeah, let's have a bit of fun with this. And also, I just need to make sure that everything is like lined up properly while we do this. So let's just do that so it's a little bit out of the way. Right. So the first one is N saying that fellow looking handsome, which is obviously a bit of a meme. I was creating the post yesterday and I decided to use like a picture from like 3 or 4 years ago because I typed in on my hard drive just tech, and then there you go. That literally popped up. So that's what we go with, as simple as, and that's what we do. So yeah, that's. I know it's a bit like childish and things, but I like having a bit of fun, and I'm sure everybody else does too. So let's get on to the next one. Hey, Autism, nice to see you. So the next one is from Bisk, and it says, "Homie, you're handsome and all, but I actually got jump scared from this. So handsome, so brave, majestic. I probably shouldn't have used a picture of myself. That's probably a bad idea. I'm not handsome, by the way. Definitely not in the conventional sense. So don't get any ideas. I will not fall into your bed." So then we have Gianmarco Marzo, which is just a fantastic name. Always enjoyed hearing that name. And basically, it says, "Hi Tech, hope you're doing well. When I started playing the game in February 2022, the fake German vehicles were sadly already gone. Now I mostly play ground and have only just started learning the basics of RRB. When news of the R2Y2s came out, I immediately started researching the Japanese air tree. Even though I have no special interest in the vehicles, I don't want to lose the option of ever giving them a go in the future. I guess my PTSD for not being able to research the German vehicles. It sucks that newer players will not have the same chance. I used to think that for sure the removed vehicles would eventually return. It's free money. if they sell them, or free grind motivation if they make them an event. But maybe that was just copium, and I need to accept they'll never return. What do you think? Hope you have a fantastic week. I will do. This week will be good. Very much looking forward to it. So, when it comes to the vehicles, right? I think it's fair to say that with the stance that they have right now, it's not gonna come back, right? Because of all of the different like things that they've decided to do, like in terms of like setting everything up and doing everything like that. But I still honestly think that it would be more surprising to me if they didn't bring them back at some point in the future, right? So if they don't ever bring it back, like they just never do it, I would be amazed, right? Hey Logo, nice to see you. Nice to see you too, Diaboli. Because it's something which would just be insanely surprising, because of the simple fact that they've made so many choices in the past, and they have changed all of these things in the past. Eventually, moving around, the idea of no supersonic jets, the cutoff in like the 50s or the 60s or whatever it was, and then also you have stuff like the decisions. Oh, that's annoying. You have stuff like the decisions to never end up like having like air-to-air missiles, for example, or no big ships, right? And all of that stuff. Yeah, of course you can, Logo. So you have all of these things where they said they wouldn't do them in the past, and now they're doing them. So at least when you think about it in that way, there's always a chance that they will do all of these things. Now, in my opinion, I think it'd be really cool if they ended up doing all of these things, and I hope that kind of like going forward, that is something that gets done. Is it something that is very much possible in the future they can do? Yeah, of course. Is it probable at the moment? I would say no, because of the decisions that they've made. It's one of those which actually kind of makes me pretty sad that they're taking the stance with the R2Y2, especially with all of the changes that they've done in terms of all of the other things they've decided to do, like the fact that they were not going to they've constantly added like fake vehicles to stuff such as the like what do you call it? Stuff such as the naval side of things. So what they've done is they've created this kind of miasma around naval where it's okay in naval if people don't want kind of realism, but now if you have a look at like naval and then you compare it to like the other game modes, and it's like, well, why is it that they get that stuff but others don't? Like how does that work, like kind of in your head, right? So that to me is a bit of a problem. I think in general, like if I'm talking from like a business point of view, and if I'm talking from like a Gaijin point of view, my general feeling, hey Alex, nice to see you. My general feeling is that eventually they will bring them back, because the whole idea of, well, you're going to run out of things eventually, or something at the end of the day is going to go wrong, and you're going to have to bring them back. But also, I feel like that's probably not, something that's going to happen in the near future. This would be a way in the future thing. I don't know if you wanted Spada and RRB because it's better in your opinion, or just fun.
Hello.
I just watched a video ago and I kind of disagree with your take, but I played it only in ground RB and it's great. You can grind it very well because you have laser guided bombs, which don't really matter how big they are. Well, you get 2 of them, so you can guarantee 2 kills and that's it. I don't think it's better to grind in Ground RB. Nothing really is. You get less research for your amount of actions, and then also at the same time, you have the issue where you have to die in order to get into the plane in the first place. So if you're playing Air RB properly, a lot of the games you probably won't even get into the vehicle. There's also the issue where there's vehicles at 9.3 and 9.0 and even 9.7, so lower BR than it, which are functionally better than it when it comes to destroying vehicles. So that's one, when it comes to all of that stuff, that's kind of the problems that I have with kind of spading it there. There is no way I could have spaded that vehicle in 40 games in Ground RB because I just don't die enough. You went to the base and bombed up to like 4 times? What, each game? How much RP were you making per game? And that also, like, how many games have you played it and have you spaded it? Yeah, we're doing the tech talk today. But no, when it comes to vehicles like that, I can't see a world where they don't I can't see a world where they don't bring it back, you know? Like, I'd be amazed if that was the case. So here we go. Just building up a logging camp. But I thought we would play this while doing the tech talk. Like, to me, it seems to work. I think the major thing, though, when it comes to, like, vehicles and stuff like that, just understand that the Gaijin has made pretty much every kind of, not trick in the book, but, like, for every reason something has been added or it's been justified in a specific way. So the simple thing is, like, because of the way that they do this stuff, like in terms of when they add stuff or what they add stuff, there's no reason why it can't happen in the future. I think that's the most important thing. Any Japanese aircraft that we've been discussing, do we just need to have RP points, or should I say research points on them to keep them? Yeah, you just need some research points into them. Each of them, though. You need at least 1 RP in each of them. So we have Charlie Harris. Hi, Tech. Just want to know your opinion on would Gaijin add any more camouflage netting? Or would they allow the players to put on their own camouflage netting? And just as a suggestion for a 3D decorator, you know how Russian tanks always have fuel drums on the back? I would think that would really be a good 3D decorator, but they'd be added in such a way that they wouldn't disrupt your gun or your gun sight or you firing the gun. They're just there for visual appeal. And since I take a lot of screenshots, I'd like to make the tank look more visually appealing because you would have all of the bells and whistles that you would usually see on a Russian tank. Hey, Lorico, nice to see you. In terms of stuff like that, there's no reason why they couldn't set something up where they're gonna add more stuff like this. I'm sure they will, right? There's no reason why they wouldn't. The only issue with it, is like money, right? Like, because, so for example, you got the Vextra, right? So the Vextra is a vehicle which they put into the game, into the standard tech tree, and they added the camouflage as a modification. So it stands to reason that what they're going to do is they're going to do that again, right? Like, they're going to make it so these things are designed around that. Yeah. Now, if they decide that, and if they decide that that's kind of what they're going to do, then that just means that as we go forward, they're probably going to add them as modifications. I'd be very surprised if they're going to add them in any other way. If they decide to add them as, like, paid things, so like paid physical camouflages or whatever, then they could do that too. They could also do it for events. But the way that they've done it so far is through premiums, but also through standard tech trees as a modification. I don't agree with the idea that they shouldn't affect stuff physically, though. I think that kind of takes away from them quite a lot. I think it would actually be better if they do affect stuff physically, because of the way that it all works. So for me, that's something I would focus on. I would actually say, look, you can have this camouflage, and you could do these things, but also it could be detrimental. You know, it could be a problem because you have to now figure out whether you want to like do it like that or you want to do it like something else. I think that would actually make more sense to me because you need a pro and a con to these things, right? Because if everything's just a pro, then everybody will just do it all the time. And that is a problem, yeah? So I think it's better if you actually if there is something which is kind of like a, okay, I want to do this, but also at the same time it's gonna, you know, be detrimental to what we do. I think that's a much better idea. Hey Liberator, nice to see you. I passed the trucker license exam, so now I'm gonna drive trucks on the 5th and then need to take the driving exam soon after that. Oh, fantastic. That's great. That's wonderful to hear. Good stuff, man. Fantastic work. Should be super proud of that. Yeah, they'll definitely add more camo stuff. The more things about it, at least from what we've seen, is they're gonna do that stuff. It just depends on how they're going to do it. So we have Laggy Soup Dealer. Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Haha. Hey Bloody Marta, nice to see you. Doing all right. Yeah, Bloody Marta, what we're gonna do is we're gonna use Mana Lords to do also the tech talks. So we're gonna have like we're gonna build like a huge kingdom while also just like kind of chilling and doing the tech talks. It's gonna be fun. How to play the H1S compared to the helicopters, like the Eurocopter or MI helicopter family? The H1S is the Kisarazu, right? It's the Japanese one. So the Japanese one is super weird because the vehicle has access to really good optics. Like I'm pretty sure it has like thermals, right? But also it doesn't have crazy long missiles. So what you basically have to do because of that is you have to kind of live in a place where it's a bit annoying to actually deal with. Because the major thing that you have to kind of focus on is staying at the right distance to use the missiles, but also not getting too close so you get hammered by AA. So a lot of it is actually staying low to the ground, and then also using the thermals early, like kind of as you take off to see where the enemies are, and then positioning yourself in an area to be able to kind of affect that. And if you do that, you'll have a great time. You know, it'll work really, really well in general. So that's kind of the focus of doing something like that. And then the other way of playing it is obviously just as kind of a first spawn, like get the rockets, and then once again you can kind of do the same thing where it's taking off early, using the thermals quickly to see people, and then setting up a route based on that. Whereas with stuff like the MI family or the Eurocopter, I mean, those vehicles have, well, depending on which MI you're talking about, but the Eurocopters, like, they usually have very different weaponry to the H1S and also different optics, right? But you just have to maximize its strengths, and then you kind of just go from there. That's how it works. Then we have Connor Purvis. Do you think we'll see more New Zealand vehicles like the A4K or even the Centurion? They could add a P-51D, Spitfire, and more World War II era vehicles. Hey, Zara, nice to see you. Yeah, I mean, there's always the chance that they're going to do that. My only problem with stuff like that, like in terms of setting it up and everything, is it can be a bit annoying to actually do it all. Because the question is, like, how do you add them in? Because they're vehicles which basically you already have, right? Like, there are some ones which are slightly different, like you said, the A4K That one will come in as like an event vehicle or like a squadron vehicle for whoever. But when it comes to like the other ones, it's just straight up like, well, we already have those specific variants in the game. So the way that I see it, or the only way I can really see it, is what they're gonna do with it is they're gonna set it up so they're gonna set it up in a way so what they'll do is do either like a Moments of Valor or like an Anzac Day thing. Then they'll probably add like some camouflages, right? Because that's usually what they do with these types of things. Did you play the F-117 on Ground RB? Because it's really fun. No, the whole point of spading it was so I could have it spaded going into playing Ground RB. So I haven't played it yet. But yeah, the idea of spading it in Ground RB just seems like a terrible idea. Did you find your stats yet? Because I'd like to hear them. And then also how far you are spaded with it. Right. But yeah, the way that they could do it is through like camouflages for like a Moments of Valor event, or they could, I don't think they could put in like different vehicles because they're exactly the same, right? So that's the way it is. So that's the general feeling. Yeah, but what's like your KD and all of that stuff in it? Let's see. Wouldn't mind seeing the A4K Skyhawk, the Kahoo model. Yeah, I'm sure they'll add it. The one that everybody always memes about. It ain't efficient, but it's fun. No, that's fair, but what are the stats? The one that everybody always talks about is the Bob sample. And I feel like if they really wanted to, they could actually do the Bob. Like, they could definitely sort out Bob. Like they could do all of the general stuff for it. Like for example, with Bob, you have the thing with Bob is you have all of the cool stuff, like in terms of the corrugated setup and like the iconic setup for it. But the other thing that you also have with Bob is the fact that it has a variant that was never really built, but could have definitely been built. Does that make sense? So if Gaijin really wants to go along this route of like not adding things that were never added, stuff like that never gets in the game. But at the end of the day, it's just how it goes. But a bit negative is dropping in is like the 30s, so sometimes it dies before your bomb hits. No, it doesn't. Like, you don't have to make placations, just tell me the stats. Like, I'm not offensive or defensive. I just want to know the stats. Alright. But Gaijin themselves said that as time goes on, they're gonna add more and more things to the game, right? So it's just kind of how it goes. Hey, Drew Play, nice to see you. Doing well today, thank you. The missus is back today, so that makes a big difference. It's gonna be nice to see her after she was away for a little bit. But yeah, feeling pretty good, thank you. Hopefully everything's all right for you. So then we have barbecue spaghetti. Please make a War Thunder iceberg. With your experience, you should have a lot to talk about when it comes to War Thunder. It will be very cool to hear your perspective of War Thunder's history. What is a War Thunder iceberg? Or what is an iceberg? Is that like things on the top and then things on the bottom, I'm guessing? Like good things, bad things? Like kind of like an A to Z list? Is that like the idea? 30 games, 20 wins, 32 respawns, 20 deaths, 50 ground kills. Bit rough. How do you get qualifications to post in the forums at War Thunder, for example? Voting or commenting on suggested stuff and vehicles in the forums. Notice when I go vote on something, it doesn't allow me. You need an X amount of games played in the specific period it was talking about. So that's basically how it was. Alright. Well, that's basically what you kind of have to do. But yeah, the literal breakthrough of History from the good to the bad in certain features. Oh man, that was how many hours you got? Like, we could literally be sat here for like days doing that, man. I'd have to like sit down and I'd have to sit down and straight up like sort that out for like it would take me like a day. It would take me a long time to do that. But like, I mean, we could, I suppose. But yeah, expect many hours of doing that. Maybe we could like break it down by a year or something. Yeah, I did, Lorico. Yeah, it's you should be very happy with that. Well done. Oh, I do need to move the chat actually. Sorry. There you go. Hey Sneaky, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good. There we go. So that's the next one. So we have Chris Du. I've been a guest on one of your tech talks. It was right after my first back surgery. I'd love to do another one. Now that I've had several years of experience in the game, plus my knowledge of military hardware and equipment, I have a huge fascination with equipment from World War II and early Cold War equipment, primarily anything built after 1950. But I'd love to be a guest again. Ray Shadow 34 is my alias. Oh, well, there you go, Ray Shadow. One of the things I thought would be interesting. So I've thought about this idea for a while, because the old fireside chat format I really enjoyed doing, but there were problems with it in terms of like how it was all set up, right? Because you know sometimes people would like just talk about like the same stuff over and over again. But one of the things I enjoyed the last few months was doing that interview with the voice actor who did the stuff for War Thunder. You know, the guy who straight up made the thing. He did like a lot of the American voice acting, and I think it would actually be really cool personally to actually, you know, kind of get different people on and talk about their experiences with everything that happens to them in War Thunder. Like, what is their life story? How did they find War Thunder, or how did they start playing it? And then also at the same time, like, you know, what's do you know, how are their feelings about it? What was like their favorite stuff, or anything like that, you know? Like stuff which in general just would be different from the norm, which of course the norm being, you know, just playing every day. So I don't really know how to do it because scheduling can be an ass. But I honestly think setting something up in a way which is just like, oh well, oh, there's these guys here, and you know, this is their story, like kind of the players of War Thunder. So even though we don't do the old like fireside chat format anymore, and we do more of like the tech talk format, there's no reason why we couldn't do something like that, right? And I think overall that would actually be really cool to do, because the biggest part of all of this stuff, which I find the most interesting, is of course, you know, the community side of it. I think the community side of it is fantastic. So yeah, I honestly believe, or I honestly hope that in the future, that's what we can kind of focus on. I've been thinking about it for a while, how to do it, and I will do it. The only question is how I'm going to do it, and and that's always the question. Like, how's it going to set up, and we'll sort it out. We'll get her done as we always do. It's just how. I think it would be nice. Yeah, exactly, Ray Shadow. Like just having a chat with like people who've been around for a while. Hey, Bloody Martin, I see you. Where have you got to your burgage plots located at the moment? They're right here. They just haven't been built. So we have like our little settlement here, and then I put the logging camp up here, but it was too far away. The problem I'm having is all of this stuff is over here, so it's taking my guys ages to move over it. But they'll get there. Now the granary's up, they just need the storehouse, and then we'll start moving things, which would be good. So the next one is Sheriff Al-Jedawi. Interesting. Been playing since beta. It would be great to make deep dive episodes about every nation and all trees. So this is, I was thinking of putting the church here and then building everything around it. So the deep dive thing is interesting for a few reasons. The major reason is obviously you get a ton of information about it, right? And I think that's kind of cool. The problem I have with the deep dive stuff is that when you do like the deep dive things, it can be outdated in a week, you know? Sounds good, Ray Shadow. Look after yourself, man. But like so you can make it within like, oh, you can make it and then a month later a new update comes out and it changes everything. Like imagine if I'd done a deep dive into the Japanese tech tree like last year, like talking about its aviation, going through all of its vehicles, how fun they are or how not fun they are, and what to avoid, what to go for, and then the Thai subtree comes out. You know? Like, that's the problem with these types of things. It basically means that you kind of have like a, like, you basically have like a weird relationship with it, because like, what do? Like, if you do one thing with it, like if you decide that you're going to if you're going to, how do I put this? If you're going to show everything, but then also leave it open to, well, in the future this could change, then that is kind of a disservice to the whole thing, right? Because it basically means that you are, you know, you're going to end up not telling the truth, or you're not going to give like a proper opinion about these things. What is actually going to happen is you're going to just give like placations, right? Which is not good. That's not really what you want to do. So for me, I'm worried about the fact that that happens, because I've seen it happen. Like Oxy, right? Oxy plays, or Oxy used to do, or still does, depending on like, you know, because they take a lot of time, right? But he makes videos about that, like about, hey, we're gonna make this like huge, we're gonna go through this huge thing, and then, you know, we're gonna talk about all the vehicles in the tech tree that I've played and spaded and everything. But by the time he makes the video, it takes him so long to make the video. You have to edit a bunch of stuff, but then also on top of it, you have a problem, which is by the time it comes out, it can be outdated within a month. So even if, you know, you enjoy making the content and, you know, it's something you really like doing, if that's the case, then what ends up happening, right, is the content itself is kind of worthless in hardly any time at all. So it doesn't actually benefit anybody. It doesn't benefit, you know, the people who are watching it after a period of time. Like I still get like comments on my videos from like 5 or 6 years ago, and it'll say something like, I don't know, yeah, I don't know, it'll be like talking like about an F-104A or something, and you know, I still think it's super powerful, but then there'll just be like a bunch of like modern comments which is like, yeah, but it faces the A10, so like, why didn't he mention the A10? It's like, the A10 wasn't in the game when the video came out. What do you want me to do about it? And yeah, I can't like go back in time and do these things. And the other option for it is to update things constantly. And if you do that, you are a better person than I, because that is a mess to do. Like, you end up just doing the same things over and over again. And as I said, that can be fine. Like, you know, people enjoy that stuff. But for me, that's a toughie. That's a real big toughie. Like I can't consistently do like the same stuff or the same thing over and over and over again. My mind will just go nuts. So that's one of the issues, which is why War Thunder is good, because it's ever changing. But it also means like the old stuff you talked about doesn't always necessary, you know, talk. It's not necessary to go through in the new times and the new days, because it doesn't make any sense to do so. So yeah, deep dives are a bit rough. I think you're better off just reporting the news about War Thunder, as you've always done, because it's something new, not necessarily repeating things. Yeah, I think the structure of the content that I do really fits me, and I'm super happy with it. You know, it's one of those things that I've worked super hard at kind of like finding for myself, and I'm very content with how I do things. And then every so often we'll do like the big videos about, well, what could happen here, or what does this look like at this point, or like the controls videos. The controls videos are another thing where it's like, oh well, I've played this or I've gone through this, and then oh hey presto, like in a month there's now a bunch of new options. So those are things that I do need to redo every once in a while, but I think it's worth doing. So then we have Organic Chemistry Junkie. Hi Tech, hope you had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Wonderful to hear Tech Talks are coming back. Yeah, we took a month off, but it was just because, you know, it's January. January is basically a month off time. Like where even though we like constantly did like the videos and stuff, you know, it's one of those things which isn't always there for everything. It's Family Day, Bryce. True, yeah. Happy Family Day. Did do you do Family Day over there? I thought that was just a BC thing. Didn't realize it was a federal thing. But yeah, Family Day. Are you happy with the fam? That's all that matters. But yeah, the simple part of it is just took a little bit of time off. But I'm glad it's back. It'll be another fun year. I didn't realize how many we've done. We've done 69 Tech Talks. This is technically the 70th. Which, I don't know, it just seems kind of surreal when you start thinking of stuff like that. I liked your video on ideas to increase rewards in different game modes. However, many people just say increase numbers, which unfortunately hurts Snell's bottom line. So that alone can't be the answer. I strongly believe it is in fact possible to both reduce the grind and benefit Gadgeon's bottom line, so therefore make such a proposal realistic to implement. Ooh, one. Let's see. Talisman vehicles can transfer and use modification RP to another machine in your lineup. Pretty self-explanatory. Makes premium vehicles and talisman tech tree vehicles much more valuable as a result. That's true, but I don't think they need to be more valuable. I think they're already pretty valuable. You know, I get that maybe that'll push people to buy these things more, but it'll also mean that people won't play anything else apart from the premium still. So yeah, Family Day. Yeah, it's a day where you're supposed to spend with your fam. My fam is not here, so hey. Yeah, I think changing some stuff up about talismans might be kind of fun, like some SL bonus stuff. But I mean, it could work depending on how much people want to do with it. Premium account only, free conversion of a set amount of convertible RP to either research and modifications RP per day of active premium account. Each tech tree you get has an independent modifier here. The bonus scales up the further you progress down the given tree in question, thereby rewarding players who have stuck in the game with a long time. 3k CRP a day per tree at rank 1 with an additional 2k per day per unlocked tier. Thus, for a player with premium who's never touched Italy or French vehicles, they'd have up to 3k CRP to convert for use in each rank 1 daily. As an incentive to get somebody into a tree, it's not a bad one. The only problem with that is you want people to play the game and not. So both of these so far are not really designed around people playing those tech trees or playing the new vehicles. It's more just using pre-existing mechanics to try and push people into researching them and then maybe playing them, right? Which I suppose, like, it might work. Like, it's not a bad idea. I think in general, it's a bit confusing if you think about it from like a standard like player perspective. But I think, you know, it could be fine. I don't really see a problem with it, apart from it doesn't actually promote people playing the vehicles. It promotes them just researching them and then leaving them in the hangar, right? And then if they end up doing that, then they're just going to wait until they research the better vehicle and then go from there. It also means crew skills will be a little bit screwed up. I generally feel like expanding the nation bonuses stuff, which is like a super simple system, or creating more discounts across the board, but still having to research the vehicles instead of just doing it like a free RP system would be better. But you could definitely do both of these. Like, I don't see why it wouldn't be bad. Simplifying and enhancing the research bonus for tech tree completion. The current system manages to be simultaneously an overly complex set of rules for a paltry number of games per day and a pitiful small bonus. Instead, would have it to be a flat percentage increase in the final RP, not base RP, but how many tiers you have unlocked and spaded every machine in. This modifier stacks infinitely, but however many tech trees you have gone down and spaded. For example, a 5% bonus per spaded tier per tree. Spading all 8 tiers in the US tree will get a permanent 40% increase in research bonus. This bonus should intentionally be fairly large, 3 to 5% per fully spaded tier, to reward people who have stuck with Gaijin for many years, despite multiple instances of questionable decisions. Yeah. Don't have to put in that end part. The people who need the grind to decrease are not the people who have played for years. They're already hooked, right? Like, I'd like the grind to decrease because I want it to be in line with what it was previously, and also because I'm bored of playing the same stuff over and over and over again, and they've gone more into the kind of copy-paste world, and it's just going to get worse and worse from there. But that is specifically targeting certain vehicles that I've already played 5 times over. If you're a person who's already played War Thunder for many years, you don't need more incentives to play the game. You're already there, right? The incentives for games are usually at targeting people who are in that limbo stage where they haven't played for a crazy long time, or they haven't really played for any time at all. It's really why they haven't ever really upgraded the daily system, where like there was always suggestions in the past to developers where it's like, hey, you know, these guys here, these guys over here, they want to have they want more stuff in terms of when you like get daily bonuses. So maybe at like 100 days you get like 100 G, maybe at 1,000 days you get 1,000 G. But the problem with this is those are the people who don't need the incentives to do that because they're going to do it anyway. So you need to target stuff which people are not going to do anyway. Does that make sense? And that is not always the easiest thing to do, because you'll just run into people who will lie to your face about what they actually want and what they want for free. So it's a huge like balancing act of what is right and what is wrong. I think in general it's a fine system, but the problem is you've said that the system that is in place right now, the nation bonus system, is overly complex set of rules. But then also you've suggested a system that is much more complicated than the current system. The current system's super simple. if you research a vehicle which has the arrow on it going down to the bottom, then any other tech tree, you get 5 games where you get a percentage bonus on your base RP. That's it. That takes like a sentence to explain to people. Super easy to do, right? Where here you've had to do multiple sentences going through how it works. Right? And that I wouldn't say the system that we have is not as complex as the system you've proposed, but also at the same time, it's a system which could definitely be improved upon. But I want to try the big problem I've seen is we now have a massive set of players, not in like my setup where I play a bunch of stuff, but we have a lot of players who play like 1 or 2 nations and that's it. And it's either they don't have time to play other nations or don't want to play other nations. The set of people that I'm personally targeting is that set of people there. How do you get that set of people to play other things? And it might not be possible, by the way. Like it might it might literally be impossible because they just don't want to, right? Or they feel like they're not that interested in all of those things. But for me, I think there's got to be something that calls to people. And maybe these systems would work for that. But I don't need people who already play the game all the time to get more bonuses. I need people to become the people who play all the time. Yeah. So that's like how that works. So then we have Oma Siftsi. Do you think the F4E late for the US would be a nice addition? It's personally my favorite plane. I have no idea what the F4E late is. What's the difference between the F4E and the F4E late? Because one of the big issues with the F4E is its radar. So does the late like give it a better radar? At that point, it's basically like the F4J or the F4S. Apart from it has the internal gun. But if it has any of the other upgrades, I mean, I'm not really that interested. I feel like with the Phantoms, there's a good mix of them already. And all of them have like their strengths or their disadvantages at their BRs. They're actually kind of interesting. The only one which sucks is of course, the good old, whatchamacallit. Oh, I've forgotten the name of the one. The the F4C. Yeah, thank you, Lorico. Yeah, the F4C is the one which isn't that interesting because it's just it's basically just like, oh well, your disadvantage is too great, you know? Like that to me is the issue with that one. There we go. As someone who struggles to get in other trees than what I already have played, make sure each tree has approximately 3 reserves, so you're not just stuck in one shitty tank that you struggle to get any RP in. Yeah, that definitely would help. That's a very good point. No madness of that idea. Okay. Just trying to get these houses built. Can kind of go from there. But yeah, that's a pretty good idea. I like that. And then also what could happen is, you know, little bonuses to get into it. Maybe they could offer like a free starter pack every so often. Or like a free lower tier premium. Because they do exist, right? So, yeah. Case in point, Israel has 1 reserve tank, so you don't even get 3 spawns if you're new to the tree. You used to? Did they change it? Uh-oh. The rain is staying mainly in the plane. Yeah, whatever the difference is with the F4 relay, I'd have to check. But you know what, I'll have a look now. I don't entirely know what it is. But my guess would be the radar, right? That's usually the way that it goes. Oh, would it just get better? Oh my god. Why do I have to go through a million things? It operated until the 90s? Jesus. Oh, there's like a bunch of different versions of it. No, I don't want this phantom. No, there's no point in it. There's already a bunch of phantoms that do what it does in the game. This can be like an event vehicle or something. Hey, DARPA Chief, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good. Hopefully everything's alright. You can just do that. Be much better. Then we have the Oreo Overlord. What's your opinion on ground and vehicles to be added? Being that most every significant tank produced has been added, where do you think the game mode can go? More experimental vehicles, crazy Cold War prototypes, obviously not where Gaijin will go with it. But did you see any chance that a new game mode could be added? Well, they test out new game modes all the time. Most of the time, people just don't like them. Like we've talked about this before, right? Like they tested the PvE stuff. They tested a lot of the other stuff in terms of how they set it up. Like, you know, they did the whole capture the flag thing. They did the whole like map decreasing size thing. They did the progressive fights, like all of these things. They do them, you know, it's just whether people like them or not. Unfortunately, migraine since 6 a.m., but I got Stalker 2 working again, so I have that going for me. I saw that they released an update with 1,700 bug fixes. I'm doing good, DARPA Chief, though. I have like a cold, definitely. And my cold is very much annoying me, but apart from that, I'm very good. So we will live long and we will prosper, which will be nice. Just a little bit throaty at the moment, but everything's fine. I generally think that there's still a ton of stuff to add when it comes to War Thunder. Like they have plenty of stuff. Obviously, the last 2 years they've been focusing on light tanks and also SPHs. You know, if every update has 10 vehicles in it for ground, which is kind of the usual amount, 10 or 15, there's plenty that they can do. They've already said that they're going to expand subtrees. They've already said that they're going to, you know, add independent stuff in the future. There's still a bunch of different nations that haven't been added into the game, which I know people would enjoy being in the game. So, like, I have no worry, let's say, about the fact that they're always going to have some things, you know, to do. So that is never a problem in my head. Even if it is just like similar stuff, they still have plenty of ways to go with like MBTs. They still haven't added in any of the large caliber MBTs, and then also, I mean, I was thinking about this the other day, right? So if I'm Gaijin and I know that there's a problem with the balance between aircraft and MBTs, how do I kind of fix that? And one of the ways to do it is to make the ordnance not as useful on planes or helicopters. And the way that you do that is pretty simple. You give the tanks a get out of jail free card. Now you have APS systems, right? And APSs are really cool, but they're really not something that's used on a lot of MBTs. You know, they're more either very, very modern systems which have just started using them, or it's kind of like lighter vehicles which were developed the last like decade, right? But one of the things that has become popularized, and one of the things that we know got leaked more recent, well, not recently, it got leaked like 2 years ago, was the T80 BVM 2023 edition. And the thing about the T80 BVM 2023 edition is, first of all, it is it's got a better transmission than the standard T80. It's pretty much exactly the same platform, by the way. Nothing too different with it. But one thing it does have, it has a cage on the top of it. It has a cope cage. So imagine if Gaijin's added for every nation. I mean, obviously Israel, they kind of already have one with the Makava, with the trophy. I think it has APS. But imagine for every nation, they added an MBT with a top hat. And that top hat basically gave you, in effect, a shield against CAS. So every time you get hit by a CAS element, it effectively means you have one shot where you survive. So this basically halves, or maybe like 40-30% CAS's potential, and maybe that shifts meta pretty quickly, right? Instead of what we had previously, where they added a bunch of vehicles which had just extra chemical protection, but most casts at the highest level they could pen through it anyway, so it didn't matter. So, like, that to me, I think is the way to go with something like that. I think that's what you do. I don't think you do anything drastic. You just add the similar MBTs, but those MBTs have access to some way of defending themselves. I think that would be the way forward. I can't see why any other way would work, you know? Or not work, sorry, but why you would do any other way. So that's what I would do, personally. Whether that's right to do or not, I mean, that's up for the gods to decide. But that, I think, gives you an extra layer that you can do. Yeah, you could also actually add rewards for AA. That would be quite nice too. Then we have Finnish British Tea. What do you think of the feasibility is of reverting RP gains to how it was before the major economy change? I appreciate that at the time they wanted to slow down tree progress, but we're at a point now, in some nations more than others, I admit, where 15k RP are the absolute best. I'm talking where absolutely everything goes right isn't enough. I always remembered the L44 giving me 15 to 25k a game, for example. I'm not saying put it back to just how strong it was, but maybe having the average RP gain from 3 to 7k RP, it's now to say 10 to 20k, playing around the numbers, I guess. Back in the day, there was like weird hard caps on RP. Like so you would get to a specific level and then you just wouldn't be able to like do anything else, and that kind of sucked. I think it's different now though, like in terms of that, but I always prefer going the other way. I don't ever really like creating it so you don't have access to what do you call it? Like I don't like it when you don't have access to things such as like you. Once again, I'm really struggling with how to put this. So there's two sides to the coin, right? You have the amount of RP that you make, and then you have the amount of RP that you need. So I prefer for them to reduce the amount of RP required instead of them increasing the amount of RP that you can grind. Because if they reduce the total amount of RP required, that is a flat number that you can work around. Where if they just increase rewards for these things, which once again would work fine, that is not guaranteed rewards, right? So what I would first want them to do is to decrease the total amount of RP required, and then later on, if it isn't balanced properly, which it probably isn't, like, let's be honest, I would prefer them to then increase the rewards. Increase the value of the RP rather than increase the RP gained. Well, decrease the total amount of RP you need. So technically increase each RP point's value, yeah. So instead of making it so you get like 5% more in a match, I would prefer that they decreased the total amount of RP needed by 10% or even 5%. Does that make sense? And I feel like we haven't had a decrease in a crazy long time. So whenever we get a decrease, that'll be really good. And then we can start talking about increasing rewards again. But I think we're still stuck in that area where they just haven't done that for a long time. So, and that kind of sucks because, you know, it's something that generally you'd want to see. Hopefully, going forward, they can do that. So we have Glaweng Friss. Hi Tech, love the content. What do you think of the current SQB mode? I have no interest in it, like at all. Yeah, I just don't really care about it. It's not really my vibe, you know. It's something that I think is good that it exists for people, but it's not really anything that I'm ever gonna truly care about because it's not why I play War Thunder. I like the squadrons in War Thunder. I like the squadron vehicle stuff. I am very happy that that part of the game exists for people, but it's just not for me. Does that make sense? Like, that's basically it. At 2.3, is the XF5F the lowest BR rank 3 vehicle? I think so, unless you look at naval. But yeah, so I'm not really that interesting. Would you like a more accessible, practical, competitive game mode for squads or solo players? No, well, let's think about it, right? So, in terms of competitive stuff in War Thunder, right? You have the ranked seasons, which they've done twice now. You have like 20 or 30 or 40 tournaments that happen per week in all the different game modes. You have the large scale tournaments that they do now. You have, you know, obviously the squadron battle stuff as well. Like you have the leaderboard stuff for like the TSS things. I don't know what else you could add, you know. Hey Bob, nice to see you. I don't know what else you could do. You even have like custom battles where you can play the maps that they use in tournaments, therefore you can kind of work out what to do in them. I don't know feasibly what would actually work for that. Like I don't know. Like I don't know. I don't know how you would improve it. I feel like they already have. So maybe I'm like missing something, or maybe there's something that is there but I don't see. But yeah, I'm just not sure. It feels to me that that should be something that is already kind of, you know, there for, especially since it caters to a minority of players. They actually put a ton of effort into it for it. Whatever happened to the World War mode system? That was sort of supposed to mimic IL2 Red Orchestra with changing battlefields and theaters. It wasn't really designed to mimic IL2 or Red Orchestra. The issue with it, well, there was many issues with it. We've talked about it in the past. There was server issues, there was timing issues, there was bug issues, there was that constant need of adding new mechanics issues, like all the time. Not letting it settle issues. There was balance issues. But the problem is the same thing as all those types of games, and Enlisted even ran into exactly the same problem. Exactly the same problem. If you have a game which is based around a system where you have one enemy versus one ally, people figure out pretty quick which one is the better one or the one that they prefer playing. So if you don't have a stable player base that constantly increases because there are going to be people who always leave, what ends up happening is it becomes incredibly unbalanced very, very quickly. And it becomes incredibly hard to actually try and get people interested in playing the side that keeps getting their heads caved in. And this is what happened in Enlisted, right? If you have a 1-to-1 or a 50-50, once you give incentives for people to win, which, you know, there always should be, it falls apart. And that's what happened to World War mode. You had a leaderboard system, you had a ranking system, you got stuff for being in the higher echelons of the ranking system. So then what happened? Oh, well, this side is favored. Okay, everybody's going to play that side. So everybody just sat in queues and never actually played against anybody, apart from if you know, played it and ended up against somebody who was in like 200th place who was just trying to get the camos or trying to get whatever. So it just didn't work, is the way to put it. And it would never do it. About 2 years ago, a daily 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2 format promoted by Gaijin lasted barely 2 months. Yeah, that was the ranked season. This format was limited in the number of daily games, but it prevented players from farming the leaderboard. Another solution would be that the TSS mode could be promoted more in the hangar, but the TSS mode is redundant. I mean, yeah, they could throw millions of resources into the competitive side of it. The ranked thing they put a ton of time into, and it seems like it wasn't very successful. So I don't know. Like, if it was successful, then I feel like they would have done it again, right? But they did it twice, and after the second time, we just haven't heard anything about it. I was told that it was a fantastic thing, you know? Like, it was something that was really good and really would, like, revolutionize War Thunder, but I'm guessing people just didn't care. Which is one of the problems with all of this competitive stuff. You have to take chances, and if you're wrong, then it's quite expensive to be wrong. And there's been a few things that have been wrong, you know? The stream yesterday was hilarious. Chat was just hijacked by people saying how much time is left and if they'll get the bomb. Yeah, because nobody's actually there to watch the competitive stuff. But this is something we've talked about many times. Like, if you have a look at the amount of viewership they get when there's free stuff and the amount of viewership they get when there isn't free stuff, it's a very different kettle of fish. But that's just how it is, because it's like I don't know what you class as, but it's like it's an obvious truth that, like, we're just not allowed to talk about. Like, it's just yeah, it's an obvious thing that everybody just isn't allowed to chat about. It's weird. And if you do, it's like, no, you've got to care about the competitive stuff. No, I don't. No, I just give me the free. Put the fries in the bag, you know. Like, that's kind of how it is. I don't need to care about anything, thank you. Give me the skin and go away. And that's unfortunately how it all is. But what can you do about that, you know? Can you somehow get people to be more accepting or to enjoy it more? Maybe. But it's not right now. Okay. The flyer said there would be free pizza? Yeah, exactly. Like, why are you making me buy donuts? I'm here for the free stuff. The same thing. It's just how it is. But yeah, I feel like Gaijin are doing a lot for the competitive side. They're doing a metric amount if you compare it to other companies. Like, and Gaijin has always been one of those companies that's been heavily involved in the competitive side. Like, they've always enjoyed kind of doing it, right? So it shouldn't be surprising to anybody that that's the case. But like, you know, we've got to be honest about this. You can only do as much that people are interested in, and you can only throw as much resources into something that you're going to get back. You can't keep chucking stuff into something if it doesn't work or people don't care. That's the issue with it's the issue with the majority of stuff we talk about with War Thunder. Like, you can't just continue to dump resources into something that doesn't make any money. Don't work in any situation. So we have Sid Tasker. Do you think that the FA-18 will be added next update? And if so, what BR do you think it would be? And how competitive in battle do you think it would be? Just like all of these types of things, heavily depends on oh my god, why am I blanking on the word? Heavily depends on the munitions or armament they give it access to, which is pretty much the same as all of these types of vehicles now. It has all the capabilities to take over the game in many different aspects. Whether it does or not is straight up just up to Gaijin. Like, that's how this goes. So it isn't about the capabilities of the plane anymore. It's about the capabilities of the radar and the capabilities of the armament, and that's it. So, would it take over the game? Yeah, of course. They could just give it all the crazy armaments if they wanted to. They're probably going to give it some nice ones so people are actually interested in it, instead of everybody just going, well, I'll just play the F-15 actually. But until we see it, there's no way of knowing. So one of the mods was getting pissed at people for not enjoying the match and just going on about the free stuff. Well, who cares? Like, at the end of the day, if I would rather people be honest about things instead of just lie. So, like, that's the thing. Even if I've always been of the opinion that even if it is troubling for people to hear things, I generally think it's more positive for people to hear the truth instead of a bucket full of lies. So, and I know there's people who disagree with me on that because there's the whole growth thing, people having to like, ooh, we're gonna grow and be better people and yada yada yada. But I just don't see that a lot of the time. It's not what I live for, you know. It's what I go to school for. People call me crazy. It's what I go to school for. Little busted. So we have Frosty. Are the R2Y2 still worth getting if I probably won't play them much? Yeah, of course. It's a binary decision. Do you want to keep them forever, or do you not want to even think about them, right? Because there might be a time in the future where you're like, hey, there's this weird and wonky cool vehicle. I kind of want to play it. Tough shit, you can't. Oh dear. You know? Hey, Splendiomium, nice to see you. May all your chickens be prosperous and your cows be burpy. The ox are doing well so far. Dragging around all of the stuff. Yeah, so far so good. We haven't solved the homelessness crisis yet, and winter's coming, but we will be fine. But yeah, the simple thing is, it's a binary choice. Do you want to do it? Okay, you don't have to, but if you don't, you'll never be able to get it in the future. So it's probably a good idea to get it. Okay. Then we have Mighty Yamato, Y6K. Tech Talk topic. Can we just revert the missile control system back to the way it was before, instead of adding new SPAAs? Also, the ground battles maps are too small for aircraft. There isn't enough room to side climb or pick up speed. So number one, if they put the missiles back to what they were, right? So, They could easily do that, but it doesn't solve the issue. So it's not something that really matters in that way. So I'll explain this, right? In terms of the game, and I did this video called Caspocalypse, and we went through a replay of one of the games that was at top tier, and it perfectly showcased the problem that is being caused, right? So what is happening because of sightlines, because of map design, and because of people knowing where people are, because it's not hard to tell nowadays, Cass, as an entity, can spawn, use their optics, because they're very powerful nowadays, use their optics to look at the map for 1 to 2 seconds, or maybe 3 at most. See the thermal signature, and of course, you know, all the stuff which goes along with it. And then what they do is they fire all of their weaponry at that. Okay? So what this means is from spawning to launching all of their weaponry, it's usually about 2 to maybe 5 to 6 seconds. So that's the period where they're vulnerable. So your radar or your AA has to somehow find the target within that time, fire the missile or fire whatever you have at the target within that time, and hit the target like while that's going on. Okay? I'll give you a hint. It's not happening. Like, so even with the old ones, right? Even with all of the old like missile mechanics, you are not doing that. You cannot, right? It's straight up impossible to do. So this isn't an issue with like the old setups or the new setups. It's straight up an issue of you cannot do it. There isn't enough time. So yeah, it's kind of a pain. That is a problem. And there's, as I said, there's nothing you can really do about it. The only thing you can actually properly do about it is there we go. The only thing you can kind of do about it is, sorry, I'm just doing the work area so we don't annoy the wolves. There we go. Is you limit the optics on the planes, or you force them to spawn further back, which, you know, can work. But it's not something that is desirable in the way that it works. So yeah, that's kind of the issue you're stuck with. So if the scenario that we had in the past is not the scenario that we have now, that is unfortunate, but it is reality. And that's kind of how it goes. Spawn at the airfield, they could do that, yeah. Helicopters do that. And what they do is they take off. You have about, what, 2 to 3 seconds at most to target them. And once again, they're already in their optic view. They have fire and forget munitions. Bang, 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 bang. And then they drop down again. Planes would do exactly the same thing. So they just screwed the pooch, like in terms of adding all these things. Would have been much better if they had kind of relaxed and not done that. So yeah. Bit of a problem, that. So yeah, that's one of the major issues. I think they could have definitely not added all of the things, and then we would have been good. But they did, so I don't know. I don't know what they could do. Just trying to make this look nice, since we're not doing this like super efficiently or whatever. I want to make houses all around the mountain. Yeah, that'll do. When I'm playing top tier and spawning in a cast jet, I always spawn at the airfield because a panzer is ready to shoot me down when I spawn. So to counter that, it's literally spawn at the airfield. Yeah, that can work. You know. Hey, Manuel, nice to see you. When are you going to do the tech talk? We're doing it right now, actually. I thought we would just play this alongside of it. Yeah, we're doing the good old tech talk. Going through it all. We're going to today do the old tech talk questions and then the ones from the post as well. So then we have Victor Corp. Hi Tech, it's one about balance. Could turboprops with guided ordnance be added without breaking that said balance? Last time I read about the IA-58C, a dual-engine attacker intended to carry, amongst other things, 2 magic wands, a 30mm deffer, and as always, the thought came in if it would be a good idea to have something like this in the game, and where or how it would be implemented. Cheers and thanks for the segment. I mean, we kind of already have those types of vehicles in the game, right? They're just not called turboprops. Well, sorry. I shouldn't say they're not called turboprops. What I should say is if you have a look at these like general ideas, what you have is... How do I delete roads? Because this is going to irk the crap out of me. What you can do is you can do something super simple. Like you can... You can straight up, instead of worrying about that, you can have a look at the vehicles that we already have in the game. And so the vehicles that we already have in the game are ones which have similar armaments, right? So they already have access to those things. You don't have to like come up with anything new or do anything like that. You can straight up just be like, well, yeah, we already have that. So like think about like the Alpha Jet TH, the A10, the AMX, the Ghibli, you know, all of those things. Like they're all in the game, right? So it's just kind of how it goes. You don't need any crazy stuff. Like you can just see what we have and see that it's possible. Should they do it? No. Will they do it? Yeah. And that is of course a problem. Double road? Seems weird. I don't know how to delete roads. But yeah, so it's something that's already happening, or it's something that's already going, so I wouldn't be too worried about it, because those types of things will turn up anyway. They're not things which are going to disappear, is the way to put it. They'll just add more. So we have AK Shafi. You think you could do a tech talk on the state of one match leaving? I mean, we could. Yeah, I mean, we could go through it. The general the general problem with the matchmaking is the same as it's always been, which is trying to get people to do something they don't want to do is always an interesting kettle of fish. I personally do generally have a problem with the one death leaving. Like, it's been a problem in the game for a long time, but there's not really a way that you can actually fix it, unfortunately. Like, the only way you can really do it is by forcing people to play more than one thing, and they're just not gonna do that. You know, they're just not gonna do that. And that sucks because they should, and it should all be kind of sorted and everything should be fine. But yeah, the human mind, as I've run into it over many years now, makes no sense to me. I don't think it ever will, and I will constantly be confused with its ideas. And yeah, that's where we're at in terms of how all this stuff works. I don't get why people can't just be nice and be truthful. Why is that? Why is that something that can't happen? But it can't happen. So we have to placate and make up weird things to try and get people to be a bit more sensible. It's very odd. The more I get older, the more I don't understand the human condition. Nothing makes sense to me. So we have Death Star. What's your opinion on the FE 4030 Share 2 VR drama? Does it need to go up? I didn't know it was a drama, but yeah, it should go up. It's a vehicle that's very powerful, and that's fine. There's no problems with that, but it should be a 10-0, in terms of what goes on with it. There's no reason for it to be lower. It should be higher. So yeah, its weaknesses compared to the standard Challenger, it doesn't have as good of a round, and also at the same time, it has access to a very, very good kind of engine and armor combo and all that, and it doesn't get the thermals, which over the last period of time, thermals are just nowhere near as good as they used to be. So I personally think it should go up after playing it. Will the British autocannon APDS nerf ever happen? If so, when? Yeah, we're what, like 3 months, 4 months off that, and then they just kind of haven't mentioned it and have forgotten about it. So I don't know, man. My guess is it will come out in the next update, but they just haven't talked about it, have they, at all? Like they've kind of just, nothing's really happened with it. So I'm not sure. That's actually super confusing to me. I don't know why. I don't know why they haven't done it, because they said they were going to do it. Unless they're looking at like larger sweeping changes. Or if that's the case, then goddamn, it's going to be a bit of a pain, right? And it's going to be annoying to go through and sorting out, but they've got to do it. Like if they don't, then they're going to run into the same issue as many others have, which is, you know, just these vehicles are left in unbalanced situations, waiting on balance changes that are never going to turn up. So what's the deal with that, bro? Like, what's going on? Confusing. It's very, very odd, isn't it? But hopefully they do it soon. Hopefully they can sort it out quicker, so it can be fine for everybody, and that's good. Right. Let's see the next one. Do you think they should ever / will ever add a team deathmatch mode? The battle mode in ground is team deathmatch. Like I know you have like the 2 caps, and if you like cap, you win them, yada yada yada. But the game mode doesn't work like that, right? We all know it doesn't work like that. it's basically a team deathmatch. Naval. There isn't really a team deathmatch one, apart from kind of the convoy missions, but it's not really a team deathmatch. That one's probably the weirdest one in terms of that idea. But yeah, I ground has one, air pretty much every air match is team deathmatch, apart from like the lower areas of ground. Sorry, the lower areas of arcade. So that's just how that works. So yeah, I don't think there's a lot that has to be focused on in terms of that. I personally feel that when it comes to the game, it's heavily team deathmatch focused anyway. Like, I don't see it being kind of anything else. So it's the major focus of like going around with it. So we have TK. Do you think there should be a ground mode only? No cast, no helicopters, and no drones, just ground vehicles? I think like a monthly event to do it would be interesting to do. The game is, so put it like this. I don't like the idea of a ground only mode because it's a get out of jail free card for Gaijin. Does that make sense? It's one of those where if they decide to do it, then it basically means that they admit defeat, right? And I'm not okay with that. I don't like that idea. I would prefer they just actually balance what's there. Yeah. I think that would be much better. Oh, God. I didn't want to move that. I did find out how to remove it, though. It's pretty cool. So, I think they should do it as an event or, like, have a bit of fun with it. But I don't think it should be a standard thing. Because you know what we've talked about with, like, the whole 50-50 thing and how the more game modes you add, the more fragmented the player base is and all of this. Like, that obviously is not good. But at the same time, there is obviously like a fundamental problem in like certain areas of it. But I'd rather they just focus on fixing that fundamental error instead of pussyfooting around it is probably the best way of putting it, you know? If they can do that, then everything will be fine. Too steep to build? Are you serious? Mate.
Gave the old ox a handful of month-old grain. He spat it in my face and tried to carve me a new nipple.
What do you mean too steep to build? Is that too steep to build? No. What about this? Is that too steep to build? No. So it's straight up just like this little area? Okay, well. I'll have to go from there. So we have Owain Evans. What SBAs can Israel get in War Thunder? Whatever subtree they decide to add to them. Why can't we have a gradual point system when decapping and capturing a point? So instead of sitting there and being blown up by Cass before you complete it and earn no points, you get rewarded for however many seconds you were capping for it. Because people would abuse the shit out of it. Like, just think about it for like 2 seconds, right? Why wouldn't somebody up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down? Why would they not do that? Then you would have to limit it in a weird way. And then what would end up happening is if you limited it in a weird way, people would complain. And then it would be just a mess. I think the way that they do it now is the best. Where what they do is they've made it so people can they've made it so people can get points from the cap even if they get destroyed, as long as it continues to be capped. Does that make sense? So that is something that Gaijin did, and I think overall is very, very positive. Because it means that you still get stuff for what you do. Even if it is something that isn't always the easiest thing to do. So I think that's kind of like a good setup for it. Like, I don't think you can do it in any other way and make it fair for all sides. So then we have, what is your computer specs? Curious what you have for your settings and performance. So I have two PCs that run together. One of them has a 3070 Ti, a i5 10700, and then like a motherboard, which is like a, I can't remember which one it is, but it's like a content creator kind of motherboard thing. So it's a pretty standard one. I could find it, but it's not that important. And then that is my streaming / recording PC. I'm going to be upgrading it probably soon. I need to figure out how to reduce file sizes, and the way to do it is to get something that can do the AV1 encoding. So either a 4000 series or a small graphics card that I plug in along with the 3070. Either could work, really. Just depends on what I'm feeling at the time. Then from that, what we can also do, kind of like going forward, is I will maybe upgrade the hard drive space in it too. So the other PC that I have, which is the gaming one, which is what you see on the screen. By the way, the recording streaming PC is called Gertrude. Hey, Ryatak, nice to see you. The gaming PC is called Mavis. Mavis has a 4070 Ti Super in it, and also a high-end i5, 10700F, I think, or something like that. And then everything is copied across the board, apart from Mavis has a liquid cooler on the CPU, where Gertrude has just a air cooler and a bunch of fans. And also the 4070 Ti Super in Mavis. There's an Elgato HD60X which connects them both. So that provides, the resolution and everything, and gets the two things to communicate together, which is pretty cool. And yeah, that's pretty much those two. I use a 2K monitor to play stuff, and then I have two 1080p's, which are over here, which do all of the other things. The two 1080p's are connected to Gertrude, and then the one monitor is connected to Mavis. So that's pretty much how it works. Yeah, it's something that I've built up over time, and something that's been many years in the process, but I think overall has worked pretty well. Like, I'm pretty happy with the setup. There are a few things I do want to change. Like, so for example, yesterday, my desk like moves up and down, right? So like I can go up and down. And one of the problems that I actually had with, all the wires and stuff behind is I connected them all to the walls, which was great, right? But since the wall behind is not like a supporting wall, it's like a really crap kind of like plasterboard wall. What ended up happening was whenever I moved everything, like stuff would obviously move about, and it would eventually like kind of fall off and just break. So what I've done now is I bought a little basket, and the basket holds everything in it. So now when the desk moves up, everything in the basket moves up too. So generally it's pretty cool. Like, it works pretty well. So it's quite nice. Hey Drexter, nice to see you. Is Manalord worth playing now? Played it like when it came out. Never touched it again because it was just unfinished. I mean, it's still unfinished, but they've added a lot of stuff to it. They've added some new maps. They've added some new modes. Like, this is one of the new maps. They've added a lot more like systems. They fixed a lot of bugs. What I would do is I would have a look at the change logs so you can make your own decision, but I think it's worth it. You know, I think it's pretty fun. So I got new plates coming in. Was able to geolocate, kill, and get the photos. So I'm trying this again, but with a new engraver. I think I'm going to get a stencil made and paint them rather than engrave, and sell full plates to display rather than keychains. Well, those will be more expensive. I get that. Did you ever actually get in touch with the other dude? And did he ever turn up? Or is he just gone with the winds? No? God damn, he probably did just die then. But yeah, the simple thing about it, with the PCs is I basically upgrade them when I need to. But Gertrude's been running for like 4 years, Mavis technically 2 years, and I'm super happy with like the way that everything's set up. I've worked really hard on making everything as efficient as possible, and stuck a ton of money into it just to make it better for people. And it's worked, you know. Like, I think overall it's been quite nice. Totally MIA? Jesus. Just disappeared. It's just crazy. Then we have Callum Crayston, Gaming and Racing. The history of Hesh shells in War Thunder, please. Hesh is like a mythical beast in War Thunder because it was added, right? And it was not very good. And then they buffed it for a very small period of time. And then it got nuked again. And then it's been shit ever since. So the analogy that I give to Hesh is the same one as the Hunter F1. The Hunter F1 as a vehicle, right, was really good for like maybe 2 months. It was the fastest thing in the game. It was, you know, it had great guns. You could outrun anything. You could do whatever you wanted. It was fantastic. Now look at it. And look at where it's been for like the past few years. That is the true Hunter F1 experience. So, yeah, that's pretty much what it is, you know. Not too small? What do you mean? What is huge, bro? Because the front is too small. It's gonna have to be like here. But yeah, so that's basically what ended up happening with it. So that's the same with Hesh. Like, there really isn't anything else to it. It's just Hesh is just a meme shell that people meme with. That's it. They don't really do anything else with it. They just like, people always talk about how great it was back in the day and oh, look how amazing it was and everything. It just wasn't. Like, it's one of those things which is very much people are gaslit about, I think. I think is the way I would put it. Just straight up gaslighting. It's crazy. So yeah, not too fun. If I do it as a stencil, then I don't risk the plates. That's true. Why doesn't Gadget add sporeliners and or an APS to Challenger 3s as it should? The Challenger 3 we have in the game is the TD, so it's the kind of the demonstrator version. And unless there's information about it having those things, then it won't get those things. That's pretty much it. Super modern vehicles have a bit of a problem, which is information. Like, being able to get information about them is just a pain in the ass. So whenever you like see vehicles like that, that's usually what ends up happening. It's just finding the info about it is like impossible. So that's why. It's if there is information about it having it, then it'll have it. And maybe in the future, they'll make another Challenger 3, which will have, you know, a spoiliner. And there you go. It's kind of like the Abrams, right? Like they added the Abrams, and it didn't have access to a spoiliner, and you know, maybe at some point they'll have an Abrams, which will, and they'll just add it into the game, and it'll be called like Abrams Spall Liner. Why doesn't Gaijin fix Hesh, make it more realistic, i.e. powerful and damaging? Don't know. I don't know. Maybe they don't see it like that. I think they have in the past made posts about it and the way that they see it. I don't think it's anything too crazy. There's not, right, okay, let's put it like this. There isn't like a massive conspiracy about like Hesh, right? Like Gaijin aren't like turning around and being like, you know what? Fuck Hesh. Like, fuck Hesh in particular. Everything else can live. Fuck Hesh. Like they're just, there's no reason for them to do that. Especially by the way that they're like setting it up, right? Like that's just not something that's a thing. It says that well, actually this one might work if we do this. Yeah, there you go. We can actually do that. So we just need 6 logs and then we'll be good. So yeah, that's basically it. And we have C76. Are you finishing the questions from the last tech talk, or should those get copied over? We're gonna go over those too. So we're gonna have a look at those. Too many carbs, mate? I wish, man. Like, I know I seem like a very doughy boy. Well, at least in the picture I do. But I'm unfortunately not a doughy boy right now, and it kind of sucks. I wish I was a doughy boy. So much more fun to be a doughy boy. But no, instead, I've been working out like a crazy person more recently, which has been fun. But at the same time, it is quite fun to completely smash your face off in terms of food. It was historical when it was implemented to pen more at higher angles. I had the documents from the Brits when they did the control test in the 60s and used that as a baseline when I was at Wargaming. But people still wanted to do more against heavier angles, right? Like that's the problem. Like the feeling about it in game is that it doesn't do anything, and that's a fair feeling because it's true. It's a poor road. Oh shit. Didn't mean to do that. There we go. So yeah, it's... In the meantime, small hypothetical question. If for some reason your nickname would no longer be usable, what new nickname would you choose? Set. That's basically it. Bro looks like JD Vans. I don't think I do. Jesus, I wish. Careful, there you see, someone might set up a Tinder account and use your picture, make all the ladies crazy. I don't think so. You know what I thought about Tinder? You know how like people try and be funny on Tinder? And like why like people always like try and do like funny jokes? Like that's what I always see. Why doesn't somebody just put like in the description, hi, I'm like late 20s, I own my own apartment, I have a car, and I have a stable job. And then just do like pictures of you just being like like something like that, you know? Like surely that would be much more better instead of like quirky, funny, ha ha, he he. But at the same time, I've never really been in that world that much, so maybe I just don't understand the lingo. Like, seems to be a weird thing to do. Maybe in the future. We'll see.
Hey, bring that piece over here.
So we have, are you okay? Where are the F-15 BOL pods? Gaijin has acknowledged and accepted them on bug report forums over a year ago, but still not added even though the models are already in game, and it would be such a simple copy-paste fix. Maybe they're doing it for a balance issue. Maybe they don't think it's required because the F-15s are already doing pretty well. Maybe they're working on other things. I don't know. So those types of things like seem to be added over time. Like think about how long it took the Jaguar to get its pods. And if you played with the nuclear carrier Jaguar recently, that stuff is just broken. Like it doesn't actually fit properly. So maybe maybe it's just something to do with that. Like maybe they just don't see it as something that needs to be done, or maybe it's because it's a physical model thing and they have to like model it properly, and maybe it's different from everything else, so they're waiting on the model to be ready. Because that, if you have a look at the Tornadoes and if you have a look at the Jaguars, that's literally what happened with them, right? Like it was the same deal. So I don't know. Hey, Colonel Mustard, nice to see you. I've legitimately tried that and got no matches. Shit, never mind then. Maybe I'm behind the times. Maybe we're too 1950s. Tinder, etc. a popularity type of thing? Really? Oh, that well took a long time. Yeah, I would feel like the popularity type of things, but like, surely some people in the world are looking for stability, you know? I don't know. I've never really understood that world, so maybe one day. So then we have Marksy. Hello, Tech. You know me. The only thing I want to see in the game are or is better servers on all three continents. That would be nice. EU, so-called IU Asia and US, and better so-called netcode. Do you think that is possible considering how expensive and big work that is? And any comments on general greedy politics and new world management of Guardian is pushing more and more, sometimes below radar, but often more than not just basically in the face of players. They really need all the money they can milk from us. Love long time, Moxie. I mean, a business is always going to try and make as much money as possible, right? That's just how it goes. Like, you're not changing that. Wish you could, but you can't. It's not going to happen. They're always going to maximize. They're always going to expand. It's like it's one of the problems with like all this whole thing. But in terms of stuff like that, I feel like what's going to end up happening is if they would have expanded, it either is in the works now or should have already been happening. Because the player base has like expanded a ridiculous amount. And they've obviously had server issues in the past. So they've expanded, you know, on the servers that they have now, which is great. You know, that's fantastic to see. But they've expanded in the same areas. So when I think about the fact that there's a lot of South American people playing the game and they have to play on American servers, it is a bit of a problem. But I, to be honest, don't know enough about how servers work and how like all of that stuff kind of comes together, that I don't fully understand how that's all gonna go. So in the future, it might be different. Like maybe these things will look different or will be easier on Gaijin. But at the moment, it doesn't seem to be the case, unfortunately. But who knows? Life is a roller coaster. Just gotta ride it. Maybe things will change. Life is a roller coaster. Just gotta ride it. It's a great game. Great name, sorry. We shall see. I hope that they expand them, though. I hope we get some West Side stuff. I hope we get some Central America stuff. I hope we get some African stuff, India, you know. All these things always seem like a really good idea, and then they just never happen, so. Why? Why? We have a black box from Sniper Chavo. No idea what that means. Why is the Desert Warrior 10-0? It sucks. Feels way too high. for what feels like a downgrade. Over the standard warrior? It's not a downgrade, definitely. The missile is a little bit tougher to use, but you have more opportunities and areas to use it with. The thing I would say in terms of it, which is a bit of a problem, is it can be a little bit annoying. It can be a little bit annoying to play because of the gun not being as powerful as other ones. But I don't think I would class it as a bad vehicle, right? I think it's generally a fine vehicle. It's just one of those that isn't going to be as good as others that are around, but it still should be fine. Like, just in general. Why no Ajax? Don't know. You look different on stream because of the angle of the camera? No. He's referring to this picture. And it's because this picture is from like a few years ago. Just thought it looked funny. Wish it wasn't? Well, it is, baby. You gotta be fishing? No, I don't need to fish. The great thing about having a super deep voice and also like, you know, just a generally decent living, I don't really have to worry too much about that type of thing. That's an old one? Yeah, it's from like 4 years ago. Nowadays we definitely look a bit different. Funny thing, like we went from like super big to like pretty thin, and then now I'm back up to like brick shithouse status. I feel pretty good for it. Kind of like brick shithouse. Pretty big fan of that. Right, so that is the stuff from the post. But now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the other ones. I need to just sort this out properly. No, I don't want to see the videos. When Loracor was talking about the Kingdom Come Deliverance stuff, I started watching about the gay things. Because there was a lot of people like talking about the gays like in the game, and it turns out the gay stuff is like really tiny. It's basically nothing. It's like one scene after like a million minutes, and then also it's like, yeah, it just doesn't make any sense, like it being like this big gay thing, you know? Oh, I need to put a limit on these guys, actually. Oh, never mind. I can't put a limit on them. Don't eat all the berries. Bad. Right, so this is the tech talk we did at Christmas. So this is the most recent one, which is why we needed the other stuff. So we have to Shio. In light of recent news, I'm sure we all wish Freeman and Finnish KV1B a happy and prosperous union. Yeah, Freeman still isn't married. He got engaged, but then it got disengaged, unfortunately. But yeah, he's still stuck in India. He's been held prisoner for 3 months. And I know he wants to come back to the Philippines. It would be lovely to see him back, so we could enjoy playing some games and having a fun time with it. But yeah, not yet, unfortunately. Not yet. He's still stuck there, man. Still stuck there. So hopefully our boy can return soon. But he is becoming a man in more ways than one, so it's not all negative. And soon, I'm sure he'll be back, and he'll be playing co-op games and having a bit of fun as usual. V. Freeman. Then we have organic chemistry again. I agree wholeheartedly with your proposal to give role-based reward multipliers to different planes types in RBR. I thought up much the same idea years ago to solve the then epidemic of R2Y2s, Helldivers, IL-10s, Arados, abusing air spawns to dunk on fighters. It would also resolve complaints about bombers intentionally role-playing AC-130s and fighters cutting grass. Yeah, it'd be quite good, wouldn't it? So then we have fighter 5 times bonus reward for killing other fighters. Rewards divided by 5 for everything else. 5 times. Woo! 5 times bonus for doing casts. Rewards divided by 5 for everything else. Then 5 times for bombing bases, and then divided for everything else. I feel like then that might be a bit too aggressive, but yeah, the sentiment is good. Yeah, I would struggle a little bit in terms of doing that much. Why are my guys just not like picking up wood? Oh, never mind. They are doing it. Alright. Hey, Brolzak, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good. Some planes would have multiple roles available. In those cases, they pick one role before queuing and then get the appropriate multipliers. During a match, after some people have perished, it would be possible to land on a friendly airfield and swap your multipliers. Ideally, they can just be tied to ammo or ordnance loadouts for simplicity's sake. Yeah, they could do that. I think it would be better just to make it so it's just tied to the type of vehicle it is. Hey, Teddy, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good. Build another Oxbows? I have 1 million of them, look. We have 2 here, and then we have 1 here. Like, the Oxes are not doing anything. They're just chilling. There's one lady over here who's like building this with this Ox. But yeah, there's plenty of Ox posts. They're just not using them. This guy actually has a tree attached to him. So, I don't know what's going on. Have you assigned a family to the Oxes? If not, it's only done by free family. How do I assign an Ox to a family? I've assigned livestock to these guys. But that's it. Yeah, I think giving more multipliers for specific vehicles is the way forward. To help prevent abuse, RIB matchmaking would need refining, so the 4 bombers max, anything else goes. It needs dedicated fighter, not fighter slots. 10 fighter slots per team, 6 non-fighters, then bombers, attackers, and bomber killers. Simply existing doesn't automatically put their team at a disadvantage. I think they could definitely change the system so it's a bit better. It doesn't say I can assign these guys. Oh, you mean this? I see. There you go. They're hiring game masters. What do you think my chances are? Probably 0. It's worth a go, though. See what happens. All right, there we go. I thought the logging camp will be done soon. All right, so we need free oxen and then unfree oxen, basically. Already done? Oh, well, there you go. I mean, if you have a look at the activity of the game masters, there's only like 2 of them that actually do anything, so kind of surprising it took them this long to get involved. So we have Quick as Laughs, Merry Christmas, Merry Crimbo. We already went through this one in the other post. But Merry Crimbo. Merry Crimbo. Alright. with this is C76. With the stats from the 2024 review on the most played vehicles, should premiums also get the same research rank limits as standard vehicles? Not going to happen, of course, just a thought experiment. So I thought about this. I don't think they should do that. It would piss a lot of people off. Like, let's be brutally honest. It would be a very negative move. There'll be a lot of people who would not be happy with that situation. Okay? But I thought about another idea that could work, which I think is actually kind of cool and interesting in terms of what they could do. So imagine a scenario where instead of that, you have a situation where what you could do is you could give specific event vehicles, which are not premium vehicles, access to bonus rewards at different ranks. So let's say you have like a rank 6 event vehicle that you've ground out. Imagine that instead of giving you premium bonuses, because they're never going to do that. They're never going to allow people to have premium bonuses in that way. But imagine instead what they did was they decided to make it so that rank 6 vehicle was able to keep its research bonuses and research efficiency, but for rank 5, 6, and 7, but also like rank 1 and 2. So that gives people an incentive to use the vehicle in order to grind through the at least start of the tech tree to give them a bit of a bonus while playing that nation. I thought that kind of idea would be interesting, at least. Like, I think it could definitely work. Just whether, you know, people want to do it or not. Nice. Second logging camp done. I'm using this logging camp, by the way, to get rid of these trees. I'm going to build a farm, so. There we go. So the next family who comes in will be the farm family. Yeah, like why not do something like that, right? Edit 1, as there's been a while since the new tech talk appeared. Just have to add a new question here. Any update plans for your computer rig this year? So we did a pretty big upgrade in November, which was the 4070 for the gaming PC. The only one, or the only upgrade that I'm thinking of doing is for Gertrude, and it's either getting a new graphics card for Gertrude, or instead of that, getting what is basically a little graphics card that you plug into it along with the other one, so I can do a specific encoding. Because AV1 encoding is such a large step up compared to the other ones. Like there's the Intel Arc A310, which is like $100, and you basically just plug it into the other graphics card slot in your motherboard, and then you can use that to encode with. And I was thinking maybe doing that, or just basically taking out the 3070 Ti, using it as a replacement in case we need it, and then after that, basically, you know, like using the other ones as a way of if something goes wrong, we can then just, you know, sort that one out. That would be like the idea, you know, and I think that personally would work the best for me. Just like getting a new 4000 series. But the issue is recently they just announced that the 5000 series is going up by 25%. which would mean that the 4000s are also going to go up in price because Nvidia is being an asshole and has been an asshole for the last 5 years when it comes to this stuff. So it's very unfortunate, but what are you going to do? Like, unfortunately, many of us are beholden to it, so it is what it is. So we're going to have to figure out what to do with that. Edit 2. With the auction suddenly popping up, is there some move that Gadget makes where they say, that's it was a good run, but now it's time to say goodbye? Definitely not. The company itself is still expanding. They keep employing new people. They keep moving people to different roles. They have a massive conglomerate right now. I don't think there's any chance it explodes. I'd be very surprised if that was the case. Like, I think it has to be understood how big Gaijin are. They have like, I know we only see like a few people, but they have so many different projects going on like at the same time. It's a huge monolith. So the idea that they just go poof, definitely not. The market, the auction idea is just the same thing as always. They're just trying to maximize what they can get out of people, which is pretty standard, you know. Like there's not much else in terms of it that you can get. So that's what they're doing. Like that's just that it once again is what it is. Like if you can maximize, you maximize. You poke the bear, you see what you can do. You take 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, and then you go 1 step forward, and everyone hails you as a hero. It's kind of how it works. So we have Delta Phoenix. Hey Tech, just wanted to wish you a happy new year first off. Happy New Year. How was your holiday? Holiday was good. Worked quite a lot. My holiday actually in general is not around Christmas. My holiday, funnily enough, is is in January, which is why I kind of like took some time off and just kind of streamed some stuff and had a bit of fun. But yeah, generally I feel great. Like no issues, no problems. Looking forward to this new year. There's some fun stuff going on in the center of this new year, so very much looking forward to it. But yeah, all good in the hood, I think is the proclamation. So hopefully it's good for everyone else too. Hopefully everyone has a good time with it. Next, I'd like to ask you about autoloaders. I understand reload speed along with BR are the only soft factors to balance a vehicle, but with autoloading, I believe that autoloaders should try to not be used in that way since there is a set reload speed. Understand about how it's needed to balance the vehicles, but just thought I would share this. I don't think there is an autoloader in the game that doesn't have... Is there an autoloader that's in the game that doesn't have like that doesn't have like the correct amount on it? Does that make sense? Like what autoloader in the game doesn't have its correct reload? I'm not sure. I think they're much more closer to history in those than they are in the other ones. I might be wrong. Like but yeah, I mean they could try it out. I worry about vehicles getting that optimum reload, which is what people always talk about with these things. Maybe with the new X-rays in the updated DMs, maybe that would mean that that they could get more of these things. Maybe that's a way forward. But I feel in general, I'd be much more worried about the other side of it. The other side being what's the word? The other side being when you make these things like realistic, and then there's like specific vehicles that are out of control, you have no way of fixing them. Like you have no way of balancing them in a way, and that would be kind of catastrophic for the game. Wouldn't be very fun at all. Hey, Ice Rice, nice to see you. I don't know, Ice Rice, which one to go for. You were asking yesterday, but I'm just not really sure. Like for me, when I look at the two vehicles, like obviously the OCU looks better, but it's also way higher in BR, right? Like it's basically top BR, so I always prefer to go up by BR, but if you're just looking for the better one, then obviously that's it. On and on. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, there's more. Another thing I'd like to ask is, how do you feel about the state of top tier MBTs in reference to each other? I'm starting to learn that they're essentially the exact same with no real changes. So some tech trees end up with redundant MBTs while others get better and better models of the same VR. For instance, I have the French friend and we got to talking about the Leclercs and he stated that the S1 and S2 are the same tank in game. Yeah, the S2 is heavier, so the S1 is actually the better option. Another thing, the 4-second reload. I trust him and he's really educated about this type of stuff. And it makes me quite mad because I like the French tree for their uniqueness and it's a sad thing to see. Sorry if this was long. I just feel like it's an important issue as some nations are unplayable. It's a fact of life, you know, it's when you have a kid and you have two parents, the kid's genetic makeup is that of the two parents. So it's going to have both of those parents there. Top tier MBTs are produced through mitosis, right? Which means you have the one beforehand and its full genetic code just goes into the new one with a few additions, right? Because if you have a look at history, that's what's happened with them. That's why the Abrams is kind of weird, because it sticks out as the one that's different, because it went from the 105mm to the 120, whereas the Leopard 2s have always had the 120, apart from certain prototypes. Leclerc has always had the 120, the Challenger the same. The engines hardly ever changed between these vehicles. What changes is the add-on stuff that they give to them. So the S1, S2, the S2 might be heavier, but that's because of the additional stuff they added to it. Just like the Azure is heavier because it has the extra armor on it. Is that extra armor useful? No. But at the same time, in game, it doesn't, the armor values don't play to its strengths. Because the whole point of the armor, just like in general, is to be something. Why can I not build this? Is the path in the way? The armor in the game has a problem because in real life it was designed to do something else, right? Oh my god, it just keeps saying it's too steep to build. So the idea that, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to build here. I can build this though. Sure. It's this corner that's too steep. So if we do like this. Ah, still the corner. So the simple thing about it is that's just how it is in real life. Like the most MBTs don't have fundamental differences between them. They actually all are basically the same. Like they don't change massively, like one piece to one piece, right? It's just not what really happens with them. It'd be cool if it was, but it just isn't, so. There's nothing else to really say about it. And as I said, like, when it comes to the reloads, people are not always going to be happy with them. That's fine. You know, the other thing you've also always got to make sure of is everybody is always going to advocate for their own stuff. So if you have like a person who plays a lot of the French tech tree, they're probably going to want a lot of French vehicles and they're going to want them to be pretty good, right? So never forget about that. Circle of life. Da-da-da-da-da. So yeah. Don't worry, be happy. Da-da-da-dee-dee-dee. It's the way that I see it. If you get worried about the minutiae of these things, you're going to go crazy. So don't do that for your own health. Things will get better over time, as they always do. And if they need a buff, they'll get a buff. If they don't need a buff, they won't get a buff. Nice. Look at that. How wonderful. Did I increase like the size of the roads or something? Oh, I did. Oh, that's curvature. The clerks are far from unplayable, but they're not as strong as they used to be, which is always the call. They want them to be stronger, so that's the problem. We have AK Shafi roadmap to please fix low player base and fix the holes in the BRs. No roadmaps for you. Very sad. Then we have Red Ned. Gauging's Q&A about wanting to combine all game modes when introducing Naval Coastal. I don't see how they could have achieved this unless they have several maps in development to make it work. The city map you were playing at the time when responding to Tishio could have been one of many that weren't scrapped when they were decided to go into the new direction. They likely had a good number of maps considering their development cycle is years in advance to announcements. The show mentioned early gameplay feeling like SPA on water, which would have been excellent to counter Cass. I never really liked Naval, but I thought they kept some of their ideas and plan to implement them in the future. Their original ideas could have been a massive missed opportunity for the player base. It could have been, yeah. But unfortunately, we'll never see it, or at least until now. Or not now, but you know what I mean, in the future. The basic thing about Naval, with that kind of said, is that you have a situation where they were setting up to do that, and the maps around at the time would also kind of show that. If you think about a map that they had kind of brought into the game around that point, it was the Normandy map. You know, the Normandy map is perfect for stuff like that. You imagine the Normandy map if they ever decided to make that into that kind of thing? Would have been amazing. There's also a bunch of other maps that they could have done too, but yeah, unfortunately that wasn't the case. So instead, we get what we get. But you're completely right, Red Ned. All the information is true. Would love to live in an alternate timeline and see what it was going to be like. So we have Jerry. What nation do you think Israel could get as a sub-tree? What about turning Israel into the combined Middle Eastern tree? Gagin is not a political company, so politics should not be an issue, right? Number one, taking things literally in this regard is very idiotic. For obvious reasons. Just because an entity is apolitical doesn't mean they are dumb as wood and they're going to do things which are going to make people annoyed at them, right? I can hold neutral political beliefs, but I can also hold the belief that it's not a good idea for me to say things which would infuriate people. these are two separate ideas. I could not give a shit about something, but somebody else gives a shit about it. Therefore, I just stay away from it. That's more what the stance is. It means that they don't make decisions based on their own politics. But it doesn't mean that they're not taking the political side into account, because other people are political. Right? Now, I think they should do something like that. I think it would be kind of fun and interesting. The other thing that I think they really should do in terms of it is I think it would be kind of fun to do a different setup with it, where instead of doing that, they could add all the South American stuff to Israel. Like, because Israel has a big influence in South America. They've worked on a lot of projects with them, put in a lot of vehicles. So that could be a way of making both sides happy. You know, you have one side which wants to see their vehicles in the game, and you have another side which needs help. It's a match made in heaven, baby. So why not? It's crazy I can build that. The houses are like not. How is that allowed? But yeah, so why couldn't something like that happen? That could work. Right. These guys are gonna have a front side view of the cliff. They're gonna live right on the side of it. But yeah, so why couldn't that kind of happen, right? Like why couldn't that be a thing? I think it could. I think if anything, it might be positive for it to be a thing. But yeah, it is what it is. Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, wallahi. Yeah, they could easily do stuff like that. There's no reason why they couldn't. I'd be fine with it personally. Oh, actually, I have plenty of food, so let's do this. But yeah, just add the South American stuff. So we have Rafa has. Hey Tech, hope you're doing well. Life is good. Feeling all right. I saw your F-16 video. Is it like the AJ? Not really. Unless I can't remember the weaponry of the AJ. If it has the semi-actives, then it's different. CV90 Mark IV for 400 RP at BR-10-7 is just ridiculous. For the same amount of RP, you can have a great top-tier MBT. Yep. Yeah, I've said for many years that they should redistribute the general points of stuff like that. I generally feel like it would be better if they decided to do that. I don't like the fact that top tier AAs and top tier light tanks are top tier AAs and top tier light tanks are the same research cost as MBTs. I think they missed a trick. Would have been much easier if they made the support vehicles a little bit cheaper, so therefore people could grind them out easier. Would have been a great idea. Oh well, what can you do?
This is heavier than it looks.
That's the end of the questions, by the way, for the first tech talk of 2025. Hopefully you enjoy the new format where we're just going to be building. Basically, the idea is by the end of the tech talks, we'll fill out this whole map, but we're just going to do it super gingerly. Like we're not going to do anything too crazy while talking about, you know, some things, seeing how everything progresses and doing stuff like that. But yeah, there's plenty they can add to Israel, and I'm sure they will, kind of going forward. But okay, thank you all for listening to the Tech Talk or watching, and we will be back on, well, Sunday, I suppose, for the next one.
as long as nothing gets in the way. Look after yourselves. Peace be with you. Bye-bye.